Hey everyone, welcome to another video. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking a look at the SEC conference. We know that the playoffs for the 2024 season has completely changed. They're now letting in the 12 top teams, the 4 Power 4 conference champs, the highest ranked group of 5 conference champ, and then the next highest ranked teams. But who's going to get into the playoffs? We know that whoever wins the conference, they get the bye week. They automatically get a straight shot to the playoffs, get to skip the first round. But what about everyone else? So the SEC is hands down the best conference, the most competitive conference, the deepest conference, and it only got better in the 2024 college football scene. You added Texas, you added Oklahoma. Oklahoma's been to the championship before. Texas made it to the Final Four last season, lost in the semifinals. So that's pretty big additions there. It's only going to get harder for teams from the SEC to make it to the playoffs. Why do I say that? Because you have legitimately probably about 7 or 8 SEC teams that are competing for the playoffs this season. That's how deep the conference is. But we know that they can't get 7 or 8 teams in because there's just not enough slots because the other conferences. You have the Big Ten, who's probably going to get, you have the Big Ten champion. But then you also have, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Those are all really good teams that are going to be top 15 teams, possibly top 10 teams that are all competing for the playoffs as well. So who from the SEC is going to get into the playoffs? Namely, who is going to win the SEC championship? That's the main thing that we're looking at today is out of all these teams, who's going to win? So when you're looking at the Vegas odds here on CBS Sports, you have Georgia. They're coming in with the best odds to win the SEC. And the next is Texas, deservedly so. And then after that, you have Ole Miss, you have Alabama, LSU, Tennessee, Missouri, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. I'd say once you get to the Auburn range, they don't have a shot to win the SEC. So I say legitimate teams that can win is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 SEC teams. That's crazy. That's outrageous. But it is true that they all have a chance. When you're looking at these teams' schedules, let me get those pulled up here for the legitimate teams that have a real shot to get in to the championship game. So we're going to start out with Georgia. I have predictions videos too for all of these teams. So if you want to see how I predict they're going to do. But you have Georgia. They have a pretty hard schedule. If you ask anyone nationally, who's the 2 teams that are for sure going to make it to the national championship, everyone across the board is going to say Georgia, Ohio State. They're for sure at least in. They don't even have to win their conference, but they're for sure at least going to make it into the playoffs. And outside of them, for those next 10 spots, it's a gauntlet. It's up for grabs. It's a show for whoever's going to get in. I would say the team with the next best chances, you're probably looking at maybe like a Texas and stuff like that. But for the SEC championship, Georgia, in my predictions video, I had them finishing 11-1. Their only loss was to Texas on the road. Georgia is stacked this season. They have Beck. They're going to have a top 5 defense. They're going to have a top 5 offense. I think they had the number 2 or 3 offense last season. Kirby Smart has this team ready to go. They're rolling. They are built for a national championship. Georgia's going to have a great season. When you're looking at the next best odds here, you're looking at Texas. So Texas, in my video, I had them finishing 11-1 as well. Strong season. Their only loss, I had them dropping 1 at the end of the season, but I had them beating Texas at home. Beating Georgia at home. So Georgia comes to Austin. I had Texas winning that one, but that's a 50-50 game. That could go either way. Both of these teams are immensely talented. They're stacked. They're built on both sides of the ball. Quinn Ewers is ready to roll. They do have to place Mitchell, Worthy, a lot of players on the D-line, but they're stacked, and they're built to make a run at a national title. So I think those are obviously the 2 best odds. When you look at Ole Miss has owned the transfer portal. They have Jackson Dart coming back. They retooled the defense. The defense should be really good, and they have a lot of players returning on the offensive side as well. They're going to have a great season. I think I had them finishing 10-2 or 11-1-ish, but their schedule, they avoid a lot of the big teams, so They're set. Next best odds, of course, Alabama. They're going to have a great season. Nick Saban's gone. That's a massive loss. He was the GOAT. You have Kalen Deboer coming in. Kalen Deboer's no chump. He has a great overall record, and he's going to get the most out of Jalen Milroe. The guy knows how to call offensive plays, and he's very gifted at that. And he's going to spread the ball vertically, which is Milroe's strength. His biggest knock is that he has some issues on the intermittent passing game, but they're going to be just fine, and their defense is obviously still going to be a top 15 defense, so they're set there. So that makes sense for Bama to still make it back to the playoffs and to competitively, possibly compete for the SEC championship. LSU, obviously Jayden Daniels is gone. He won the Heisman. Denbrock, the offensive coordinator, he's off to Notre Dame. So those are massive pieces you're losing. Nussmeier, they're built at wide receiver. They're built on the O-line. They're going to sling it around. He's going to throw for 4,000 yards. But the defense was pathetic last season. And they didn't own the portal on the D-line like a lot of people expected. So that might hold them back. They're not going to be as bad as they were last season. They made great defensive line hires. Baker coming in as the defensive coordinator. They're going to be set. They're going to be better, maybe 50th or 60th, somewhere around then. Baby steps, slowly creeping back up to a top 20 defense. But you don't want to sleep on LSU. They are a stacked team, and they're a top 10 overall roster, no doubt about it. Looking after that, you have Tennessee. Tennessee, obviously, Josh Heupel, he's a Mike Leach guy. I love Mike Leach. I love everyone that comes from the Mike Leach tree. Josh Heupel knows how to call offensive plays. Their offensive roster, with Nico taking over, 5-star quarterback, with Squirrel White still there, they're going to be loaded. They can compete with anybody in a shootout. Do not sleep on them. They had a top 30 defense last season, and their offense is going to pick right up, and it's going to be rolling. And they avoid a lot of the big teams when you're looking at their schedule. They don't have an easy schedule, but they definitely have a path to the SEC championship. And then Missouri. Missouri, honestly, probably has the easiest schedule out of all these teams. You got Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, Aggies, Massachusetts, Auburn, Bama, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Mississippi, Arkansas. They avoid Georgia. They don't play Texas. They don't play Ole Miss. They don't play LSU. Not bad. That's a pretty easy schedule. So they came out of nowhere last season, started out the year unranked, finished top 10. Great. Cook's back. They're going to be slinging it around. They lost Baker as the defensive coordinator, but they're still going to be set on the defensive side, and they don't play a lot of the big wigs. So they have an easy shot to a possible 10-2 season, maybe 11-1, just because the road's not that competitive. So that's a good thing for them. And then you look at them, the Aggies. With the Aggies, you have Jimbo gone. You have Mike Elko coming in. You still have Wegman at the quarterback position. And it's a top 10 overall roster. Even with all the players that transferred out, they're not going to miss them because this team is loaded. The schedule, though, with Notre Dame out of conference, you have Notre Dame, Florida, Missouri, LSU, Auburn, Texas. It's a little bit of a harder schedule. I just don't think first year in the system that they're going to be able to make it to the SEC championship. But they are over Oklahoma here on the odds for Vegas. When you're looking at Oklahoma, they have a pretty tough schedule. Temple, Houston, Tulane, Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina, at Ole Miss, Maine, Missouri, Alabama, LSU. That's a gauntlet. I think I predicted Oklahoma to go 8-4. Vegas has them as a 7.5 win team, so I'm going with the over there. They are loaded. Do not sleep on them. They're set at quarterback, 5-star coming in. Jeff Lebby's gone as the offensive coordinator off to Mississippi State, but they're bringing in Seth Luttrell. They both run a similar type of offense. Seth Luttrell is definitely going to sling it, also from the Mike Leach tree. They need the running back to step up. They didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher last season. That's their main thing. The line set, they're loaded at wide receiver with Farouk and all of those guys coming back. Brent Venables on defense from year 1 to year 2, massive change. Props to him. That's his specialty, though. And he's been recruiting top 10. He's been working the transfer portal top 10. They're going to be set. To me, they're set for a massive season. It's just their schedule's so tough, but the foundation's been set. Next year, they're a possible 9 or 10 win team. So SEC championship. Who do I have making it to the SEC championship? I think, honestly, these odds are right on point. I have Georgia and Texas both finishing 11-1, both making it to the SEC championship and rematching. Now, In my predictions videos for both of these teams, I have Texas beating them during the regular season, and I said that they might play again. It's hard to beat the same team twice. With that being said, whoever wins the first matchup, let's say Georgia wins it, it's going to be hard for Georgia to come in and beat Texas a second time. Vice versa, if Texas wins during the regular season, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for them to beat Georgia twice in one season. But I have Texas winning round one, and I think Georgia might win round two. Either way, they're both making the playoffs. So that's my breakdown of a possible SEC roundup of who's going to be making it to the SEC championship. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, if you have any opinions, drop them below, and I will respond to every single one of them. Thank you, and have a good day.